Hi everyone, this is Anusia Chinsami Turan, and I'm based at the University of Cape Town in South Africa. Today it's a real pleasure for me to have Dr. Carla Du Toit in studio with me. She's online and she did her PhD at our university in the Percy Fitzpatrick Institute, where the project was supervised by Susie Cunningham and myself. And her research was really very exciting, and there were many good, interesting findings. And Carla now is based at the University of Cambridge, but she's still publishing from her PhD. And this week, we had this fabulous paper published in the Journal of Avian Biology about some of Carla's research. And Carla is here today to tell us more about this work. Carla, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thanks, Anisha. So great to be back.
Wonderful. Can you tell everyone about this paper that's just come out now in Avian Biology?
So the paper revolves around Hadeda ibises and how they rely on water in the soil in order to use their specialized sixth sense to detect their prey.
A sixth sense. This is the remote touch that they have, a very specialized ability. And it would be fabulous if you can explain to everybody what this means.
So if you have a little worm or invertebrate moving around in the soil, this creates vibrations in the soil, and birds like Hadeda ibises using the sense of remote touch and a specialized organ in their beaks are able to detect those vibrations and then actually locate their prey using them without being able to see the prey items.
Isn't that wonderful? Now, we know that from previous work that we've done, we see this mechanoreceptors, this remote touch ability in birds that were present in the Cretaceous, in the times of the dinosaurs. And that's really cool. But I think if you can explain a little bit more about what these mechanoreceptors are and where they're located.
Yes, so the reason we could study them is this organ known as the built-up organ is kind of characterized by, if you have a look in the bone inside the bird's beaks, it's covered in these little holes or foramina, and that's what fossilizes and enabled us to study it in the fossil record. But actually within those little holes are tens of thousands of mechanoreceptors or touch receptors, and that makes up the organ that enables these birds to use remote touch.
And in your work now, that the work that you've just completed or just done for your PhD, what did you find with the Haridas? How did you actually test this remote touchability?
So we had captive birds and we exposed them to foraging experiments where they had trays filled with soil, and inside the soil were some worms buried. And we tested how different setups of sensory cues affected their ability to locate the worms. So to mask auditory cues or sound cues, we played white noise using a little Bluetooth speaker. And to mask scent or smell cues, we mixed up dead worms mashed up in the soil, and then to test their remote touch ability, we had two setups. So we had live worms, which were producing vibrations, and dead worms, which were not, and saw how that affected their ability to locate the worms. And then additionally, what we wanted to do was to see how adding water to the soil affects their ability to use remote touch. So when there was sufficient water in the soil, the birds were able to sense the live worms and find the live worms a lot faster than the dead worms, indicating they were able to use remote touch. But when the soil was very dry, there was no difference in how quickly they could locate the worms. In other words, indicating that they can't use remote touch if the soil is too dry, which means that they, in other words, can't find food properly in soils that are too dry.
So, Kala, what does this mean for Hadida's range expansion? And perhaps are there extrapolations you can make to other wading birds?
So Hadeda ibises in southern Africa used to be restricted to the eastern regions and have since spread to almost all major metropoles around the country. And actually, if we have a look, if we map their range expansion, we see it almost exactly matches the irrigation of farms and gardens. And so one of the things we believe the reason for this is that they're actually able to detect prey easier in wetter soils, in other words, in our gardens where we water them. And in other words, and for kind of the broader picture, it there are a lot of other species of birds, like many different ibises, and also birds like sandpipers, which use remote touch to locate their prey. And so now that we know that the amount of water in the soil affects how well they're able to locate prey. We know that for species, especially endangered species, that we need to have better understanding of their sensory requirements from their habitats moving forward.
Fantastic. So, Carla, thank you very much for joining us here today and for sharing a little bit about this paper. But I suggest that if anybody wants to know more about the details of the study, they should please look up and find our paper on this study, and it's published in the Journal of Avian Biology. So it should be very easy to locate. Well, thank you very much, and thanks for listening.